I've been ignoring the razor and shaving cream on the bathroom sink every morning for the last 3 or 4 days.
I finally shaved and now it's making all the other hairs stand out.
Quit! Damn it. That's enough.
So my day started off a little rough, but at least I had one thing to look forward to: some carburetor therapy. This little 91 S-10 belongs to a neighbor of ours that lives just up the road. We've had this truck in and out of the shop a handful of times as he's worked on it here and there. It's a beautiful 1991 S-10 pickup with a small block Chevy and a turbo 350. Well, fortunately for me, I get the opportunity to take this thing up the road and shake it down and diagnose what, if anything, is wrong with the carburetor on this thing. According to the owner, the little truck has some very, very bad driving habits. Now, the little engine ran good on the dyno, but we don't drive dynos. And the only way to diagnose drivability problems is to drive them. Now, part throttle cruise and idle wasn't too bad. It definitely felt a little bit on the rich side, but it also had a very bad lean stumble when you go to take off from a dead stop. When it recovers rich. Interesting. Now, it's important to diagnose carburetor drivability issues with the engine at operating temperature. And I had driven this thing plenty enough to get it up to operating temperature, even though it only runs at about 160 degrees. All right, guys. So I've taken a little truck for a test drive, and it's got some pretty poor manners. And I think I know exactly what's wrong with it. However, I have not yet taken this thing apart to really dig into it. I can almost guarantee you I already know what's going on. I'm going to fire this thing up and I'm going to show you exactly what it's doing as best I can in the video. But what it's doing is it idles okay, but when you step on the gas, it has an initial dead spot where it just dies. And once it dies, it comes back, but when it comes back extremely rich. Now, it's not so rich that it puts black smoke out the mufflers, because I've flat-footed a couple times and I don't see any black smoke rolling out the back of it. But let me go ahead and fire this thing up and I'll kind of show you what is going on. All right, so we're gonna put it in gear. And it's idling at about 850, 900 RPM, okay? And when you step on the gas, you can hear it die immediately, and then when it comes back rich. Hear that? There's an immediate dead spot as soon as you touch the accelerator. It dies and then comes back really quick, but when it comes back, it's rich. Do it one more time. That's what it's doing, and I think that's the main issue the owner has. The other thing is, I noticed that when you flat foot it and go through the gears, the power comes in very, very slow and gradual. And in all honesty, by the time the power comes in, it's time to shift it. That tells me that there's an ignition timing issue. Most likely, it has an MSD distributor in it with the stock advance weight springs. So we're going to go back to the shop and take a look at this thing and see if I'm correct in my assessment. So I drive the little truck back to the shop and proceed to get out my handy set of carburetor tools. My screwdriver, my hammer, and my 5/16 nut driver. So the first thing I do is I start to inspect the primary accelerator pump. And as you can see here, the primary accelerator pump is doing very little, if anything, at part throttle. The first thing I did was check the clearance on the pump arm, and it's fine. But I also noticed it still has the stock pink accelerator pump cam set in the number 1 position. So I changed that to the number 2 position to advance the lobe on the pump cam, and that fixed the accelerator pump problem. Now, the next thing I wanted to look into was ignition timing. I felt like it still had an advance kit in it, and it does. Although it doesn't have the stock heavy-duty springs, it had light springs. But given the fact that this is only 355 cubic inch with a Super Victor intake and a very, very healthy hydraulic roller camshaft, this little engine was going to need a lot of initial advance, way more than I could give it with an advance curve left in the distributor. So the first thing I need to do is remove the distributor gear and remove the roll pin that holds it on the end of the shaft so that we can lock out the ignition timing. Once we get the roll pin out of the gear, we remove the advance weight springs and the advance weights. Then you can slide the main shaft out of the body of the distributor. Next thing you'll need to do is remove this nut and the advance bushing from the main shaft. Then you spin the reluctor assembly 180 degrees and drop the main shaft back in it with the bushing removed. Now that the distributor is locked out, we can start to reassemble it and put the main shaft and the distributor gear back together. Once I had the distributor all back together, I had someone bump the engine over with a spark plug removed from number 1 cylinder to bring it up on top dead center. Now that it's up on top dead center, I put the rotor back on the distributor, and it's important to make sure you don't try to put this thing on wrong. There's a square and a round post so that you can't screw this up, although some people have in the past. Once the rotor is reinstalled on the distributor, the engine's up on top dead center on number 1. Now we can go ahead and slide the distributor back down in the engine. Now, unless you're the luckiest person alive, the distributor's not just going to drop down all the way and line up with the oil pump shaft. So you get the rotor to point close to number 1 and then have someone bump the engine over until the distributor lines up with the oil pump shaft. Then it'll drop right in. Once the distributor's in, I have someone bump the engine over again to bring it up on top dead center, just to double check to make sure the rotor is pointing at number 1 cylinder at top dead. Now we can carefully reinstall the distributor cap properly. Okay guys, so I showed you that we've brought it up on number 1 top dead center, and I had the rotor pointing towards number 1. And what I always like to do on an MSD distributor is set the distributor in so that when it's close to being in time, both of the distributor hold down screws are either, they're on each side. You don't want the distributor sitting in there like that. You want the distributor to be sitting in there nice and even so that you can get to either one of these 2 screws easily. So the cap's locked in place, the distributor's locked out now. We've got it in time. We can go ahead and start putting the spark plug wires back on. When I removed the spark plug wires, I had already numbered them, so it was easy to put them back on since these plug wires weren't labeled before. The next thing I needed to do was hook the timing light up so that once the engine fires, I can immediately set the ignition timing where I want it to be. Now it's important. You can see here that says plug with an arrow. Very important. On some timing lights, the inductive clamp is marked with an arrow towards the plug, and it's important that you install it properly. If you don't, it will give you an incorrect ignition timing reading. I think we're ready to fire it up. Let's see what it does. Now I actually kind of got lucky and the little truck fired right up first time. So I checked the throttle response to see if the dead spot was gone, and it was much better, but the ignition timing was way too far retarded yet. So I got out the timing light, checked it out, and advanced the ignition timing to 42 degrees initial. Now, some people may say, well, that's way too much ignition timing, especially with the distributor locked out. But in my experience, every single small block Chevy I've ever worked on with a high performance camshaft with more than 230 to 240 degrees of duration and 500 or more lift has always needed 40 to 42 degrees of initial advance. Every single time, no matter whether it's on pump gas or race gas, methanol, doesn't matter. They all require at least 40 degrees. So once I had the ignition timing set where I wanted it, I went ahead and adjusted the idle mixture screws on all 4 corners and called my customer. What do you think, Chief?
Runs much better.
So tell me a little bit about this thing, because I mean, I know what it is, but nobody watching the video is going to know.
So 91 S-10, S-15 that I've had for 5 or 6 years. It's got a 355 forged bottom end, so forged crank, H-beam rods, forged Wiseco pistons, 10.5 to 1 compression, hydraulic roller, set of Patriot Vortec heads that have had some work done to them, but all in all, just a small block Chevy.
So it's a 355, 10.5 to 1 compressions. What's the camshaft? It's like a 540 or 550 lift.
540, 562.
Hydraulic roller.
Yep.
And then what intakes on it? It's an Edelbrock Super Victor.
I think so.
How do you not even know that?
I don't know. I've had it too long.
And it's a 750 Holley double pumper. It's got Sanderson's shorty headers on it with what, 2.5 or 3 inch exhaust?
Yeah, whatever Tony just put on it. I think it's 2.5.
Okay.
All the way back.
MSD distributor, MSD coil, 6AL box. Pretty typical combination, right?
Yep.
Nothing too exotic.
It's got a, Tony just went through it. It's got a brand new electronic fuel pump. We did a battery relocation, put a Moser 9-inch in it, 35 spline axles and a spool, Caltrax.
370 gear.
Yep, 370 gear, and brand new QA1 dual adjustables on the rear and QA1 coilovers on the front.
Oh, it's got coilovers on the front.
Yep.
Nice.
Yep.
So it's a turbo 350.
With a shift kit from whatever paperwork I have for it.
Okay.
That's all I got on it.
So explain the drivability issues you had before you brought it over. What was it doing?
So before I brought it over, it was stuttering if you were just cruising at cruising speeds, and if you were trying to get in it off the brake, it was loading up real bad until it got above like 4,500 RPM, and then it would take off, but up until then it would load up really heavy. So brought it over here and Bill worked some magic on it.
I don't know about that. So what do you think of it now that you've driven it? I mean, is it a little better, or?
It's a lot better. Before we couldn't get it to do a burnout. I mean, we could sit on it, we could bring it up on the brake at 2,800 RPM and drop the brake and it would hook and take off. We literally couldn't get it to spin the tires on the brake. So it wants to spin the tires every time you give it anything more than half throttle now.
But that hiccup is missing. The drivability is much better.
Yep.
Cruising is much better.
Yeah, everything seems really good. We'll see how it really runs when it gets dry out. But
Right.
as of right now.
Unfortunately, it's been raining outside all day today, almost all day. For what little time I had to spend with it today, it was kind of wet, but at least we got the drivability issues cured, right?
Yeah, for sure. It's making me a lot happier. I thought before it was way underpowered, and now it's a little different. It
Okay.
feels a lot better. So
Very good. Very good. Well, enjoy it. I guess once it dries up, we'll work on the jetting then, right?
yeah, I still think it's a little fat.
Yeah, I think it's jetted for open headers. I think the
Yeah.
last time it was here, it had either different exhaust or no exhaust. I'm not sure what it had, but I know that I jetted that carburetor up a little bit, and now with the new 2.5-inch exhaust or whatever's on it, it needs a jet taken out of it a little bit, probably down 2 or 3 jet numbers front and rear.
Yeah, before you jetted it up for it to run on the dyno, so it was on a set of long tube dyno headers and
I got you.
huge blow through exhaust. So now this is a lot more restrictive with a set of shorties and
Right.
full exhaust.
So I'll get her dialed in once we get some sunshine.
Sounds perfect.
All right, buddy. Thanks, man.
No problem. Thank you.
So once the neighbor took his pickup truck home, we all went in the house, had dinner. Vicky made chicken and noodles for everybody tonight. Billy's been busy working on his S-10. He's just about got it all put back together. And I worked on one of my monster trucks for a little while tonight. So where do we stand here, Junior?
So everything's back together. Just waiting on the turbo now. Once I get that, I can put both turbos back on the cold side and all that. Then I need to warm it up one time, and then I'll have to tear it back down on this side at least and retorque and put it back together again. And then maybe we'll be able to go racing this weekend if we get the turbo in time. Not sure if we'll be able to get it back in time or not. Hopefully we do. If not, we may take a little break this weekend. We got some traveling planned next couple weekends and some pretty big trips, some pretty exciting stuff. So just want to make sure we're ready for it.
What if we don't get the turbo? Can we just take the Falcon?
We could
So you want to tell everybody where you're planning on going this weekend?
plan on going to War in the Woods, Brown County.
We've never been there.
Never been there. I've seen a lot of good things about it. Heard it's like the baddest, craziest race this side of the Mississippi. And we're down. So if we got everything back together in time, I'll take this. If not, we might just take the Falcon. I think I should drive it though. I'd like to drive it one weekend.
You want to drive it? To be honest with you, Brown County, I'd be more apt to let you drive the Falcon instead of Tommy, because that place is pretty sketchy.
It is pretty sketchy. I don't know. If something bad happens to the car, I want it to be on me, not Tommy. So it's just a fact of what we do. I mean, it's pretty sketchy shit. So
And Limpy's going to be flagging?
Limpy's gonna be flagging.
All right, I'm down. So we'll try and get this thing back together if we get the turbo. And we do need to change oil in it because we've run it all
We should
weekend.
probably change the oil in both.
Yeah, we probably should change oil in both. And then we got a set of headers over here for the 55, right? Are they ceramic coated or just regular?
They're black.
So we got a set of headers to put on the 55, and I really want to get exhaust put on the 55 Chevy here pretty soon, like real exhaust, because I'd like to be able to drive it and enjoy it a little bit this fall. And the way it is right now, it's not very enjoyable to drive. So it looks like Allison's been busy, right?
Yeah, she's been organizing. We got some orders of shirts coming in from Gina at T-Shirt Gallery. So probably tomorrow and the next day we'll have a couple new orders coming in. That way we can start getting stuff shipped out again. We're out of a lot of stuff, so we had to restock.
We appreciate everybody
We're
supporting.
trying to get everything organized. We've been behind, and Allison's starting to get everything in check. Tommy can't do it all. He's been editing the videos now and trying to do shipping.
It's a lot.
It's a lot, you know, and he's not able to sleep hardly at all. So
Everything's just like, I feel like it's just
between
exploding.
the maintenance from the cars, the maintenance is just a damn near full-time deal. I mean, every day, especially when you got bad luck like I do sometimes.
And that doesn't even include the race car trailer and the dually and the Suburban and your open trailer. Like your open trailer right now desperately needs tires put on. It's got a tail light about half hanging off of it.
It never ends. The list can go on and on forever.
Now we did get the oil changed in the big trailer today in the generator, so that's good.
Thanks to Kenny Powers.
Thanks to Kenny Powers. He changed the oil filter and the fuel filter. And believe it or not, I went down to A1 today and Mark had that Onan specific fuel filter in stock.
I'm not surprised.
I'm not, well, that shit's hard to find sometimes, man. And and look, Kenny didn't even take it off. Like, we couldn't even just hand him what we need. I'm like, I got an Onan generator with this little fuel filter. He's like 5/16 line, 1/8 thread. Yeah. 5 minutes later, he comes back with it in a brand new box.
Yeah, the other day when I was looking for that cam plug for the back of the block that's specific to Dart blocks and Speedmaster blocks, he had one.
That's
and,
crazy.
Bob at McVeigh was like, just go straight to Jags, don't even try any stores. But I called and he had one and he said it had like 8 inches of dust on it.
But he had it.
Yeah, that had been in the store since like 1990 or something. But yeah, he had it.
Mark at A1. He's the man.
Yep.
Shout out to Uncle Bob for getting your head fixed. That's all back on, right?
Yeah, I compression tested that cylinder today and it was 150 again.
Nice. So we're in there.
He definitely found the issue and fixed it.
That's awesome. So that's going to about do it for today, guys. We started the day out a little bit rough, but I did get my face shaved. Vicky got me trimmed up with my ears first thing right off the bat. God, I hate it when she does that But we had a good day. I did a little carburetor work on an S-10. I got to drive around a small block S-10 for the first time in a long time, a little street truck. That was kind of cool. And Billy's S-10's coming back together. The Falcon is ready. All we got to do to it's change oil and it's ready to go. Oh, wait. We need to put slicks on this, don't we? We need to put slicks on it?
Yeah, I got some pictures. We just need to get them out.
Oh, really? Okay. So maybe we need to work on that tomorrow. And I really need to take my dually down to the tire shop in Heber and have them look at the front end. It's chewing the front tires off of it. Something terrible. And Junior has found a couple of Dodge dualies he's looking at. We might go look at a couple Dodge pickups tomorrow because we've got some traveling he's wanting to do, and the traveling involves way out west and down south. So we're going to start looking for a dually, a diesel dually. He's looking at a couple different Dodge Rams. We're not really interested in towing my old gas dually that far with a big trailer. That's God, a nightmare.
I've heard that the Cummins are probably the easiest to work on and the least expensive to fix out of all the.
I believe it. It's an inline 6, you know.
Yeah. Hopefully, like I don't think you have to lift the cab off the frame of your head gaskets like most of the others.
No, I don't think so. So since we're getting to be a Brady Bunch family now, we've got Fords, we've got Chevys, and now we've got a Mopar. I guess it ain't gonna hurt to get a Dodge truck.
Hopefully, if we can get a good deal on one.
All right, guys. So stay tuned. More tomorrow, and Tommy's releasing a new video tomorrow, right?
I'll have a new video tomorrow. Tommy will have a new video tomorrow.
Tommy will have a new video tomorrow too? SRC photo?
I think they took video at Marion.
Okay. All right. So, stay tuned. Street Racing Channel, SRC photo, and I'll probably have another video up tomorrow night of the shenanigans, whatever the hell we get into tomorrow. Good night, guys. Thank you.